Yo, what up guys, Old School Daner, and in this video I want to talk about why Don Howorth was the next Steve Reeves. So I had a video idea for this topic because one time I know I was researching old school bodybuilding like I always do, and I've been doing it for numerous amount of years, and I was looking at forums on, I think it was bodybuilding.com, or I forgot what website it was, right? It might have been Dave Draper actually. And I noticed that someone was talking about Don Howorth, and they left a comment about it, and he was like, yeah, Don Howorth was the only bodybuilder that I knew that had, that Steve Reeves look, or that still Steve Reeves genetics, or even came close to looking like the bodybuilder Steve Reeves. And out of my own, opinion, I've never seen anybody else that looks like Steve Reeves. I've looked at guys from the golden era and silver, and I don't think we're gonna go as far as at the bronze era, but I've never seen anybody that's come close. But then I started to sort of look a little bit deeper, and I was like, okay, let me look at Don Howorth and look at pictures of Steve Reeves. And you know what? They sort of look similar, but this is what this video is all about. We're gonna be going over, in terms of aesthetics and symmetry and proportions and genetics, and go over that and see what kind of comparisons we can make. So with that being said, guys, if you guys haven't already subscribed, please subscribe for more videos like this. Give this video a thumbs up. With that being said, let's do this. Alright guys, so we got 6 photos of Don Howorth and Steve Reeves side by side by each other. We're going to talk about each one and the similarities and all that good stuff. So with that being said, let's do this. So left hand side, Don Howorth, right hand side, Steve Reeves. Funny enough, they're both at the beach doing somewhat of a similar pose. And I think what really stands out here the most is the symmetry. The symmetry, the wide shoulders, the small waist, the sweeping thighs, the big calves, the big forearms, definitely showcasing that. I think another similarity that they have is the chest. You have that. There's that Arnold chest, and there's that Steve Reeves chest. Steve Reeves had that. Steve Reeves had that sort of wide flaring upper pectoral, where it kind of like almost merges right into the front deltoid. Very similar, pretty much like what Vince Durana's chest looked like as well, because Arnold's chest is more round. Like if you look at pictures of Eric Peterson, I can't say his last name, and then Steve Reeves, they have a really, really different type of chest. Like Eric's is like round, and Steve Reeves is more like really, really square. But those are just genetics. Like those are things you can't achieve through just doing lots of incline pressing, because it's your insertions. You can't really change those. But another thing I really want to point out is on the left hand side and right hand side, obviously, they both have that sort of refined, elegant type of look. And that's sort of that look that Steve Reeves sort of coined, because when Arnold in his book, when he's talking about Reg Park and Steve Reeves and why he chose Reg over Steve, because he was like, well, I like that Reg Park had this massive, dense, powerful, Hercules look, whereas Steve Reeves had this sort of elegant, refined, and pretty type of look. And Don Howorth has exactly that sort of type of look. He has that sort of refined and symmetrical and proportional and as very aesthetic and elegant and nice type of look. It's like it's pretty. It's not like something you look up like, wow, that's a massive man and he looks very powerful. It just looks very elegant. Wow. So yeah, that's one photo comparison. Let's move on to the next. All right, so here we go. Got the victory pose in the clouds. Don Howorth probably doing a variation, but actually I think I've seen Larry Scott hit a pose like that too. But what really stands out again is the symmetry. The big calves, the small waist, the sweeping lats, big lats, the wide lats, and overall I think that's just sort of what hits me with this this pose that looks very, very similar. I've seen Reg Park hit this pose just like Steve Reeves, but again, we're talking about two different types of physiques, where Reg Park had that sort of massive, dense, thick Herculean look, whereas Steve Reeves had that sort of refined and elegant type of look. And I've haven't seen any other bodybuilder who's come close to hitting off this pose kind of like Steve Reeves, like Don does. So if you guys have seen someone else, drop a comment and let me know. But I want to keep your thoughts on the symmetry here, and I think this is what's really going to stand out in all the pictures, is the overall symmetry. And then we'll kind of, as we progress, we'll talk more about insertions and things like that, because I think I have more pictures to actually showcase that. So with that being said, let's move on to the next picture. All right, so in this picture, I think if you look at the bicep insertions, they're pretty similar. They don't have, Steve Reeves didn't have those, long bicep insertions like Larry Scott did. He had those, sort of short ones, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you look at the chest and how they will have that really square, chest that sort of ties into the front deltoid. Even Steve Reeves, even when he's hitting, his his front, what you can call this, a variation of front double bicep. But like I said, in my past videos, that when you'll know when you have that classic chest is when your chest doesn't disappear when you lift your arms up over your head. And this is something that Steve Reeves is literally showcasing, where he's doing a front double bicep, whereas some people would, that'd be a vulnerable pose for them because they don't have a lot of mass in their chest. They're definitely gonna, they're not gonna be able to showcase the whole body without that chest. And look at Steve Reeves does it perfectly, but it doesn't disappear. Look at that. You can still see that line, that rigid line that sort of connects from his chest to his front deltoid. But look how Don Howorth, and look at the calves. Look at the way look at the way the pose is already set up. The calves are there. The symmetry, the proportions, but the calves, the sweeping waist, the sweeping thighs. I'm talking about, if you look at the thigh, as in the the outer lower thigh, they both have that thing, that sweep there, and the chest, like I said, and the bicep. I think those are all very similar, in terms of like insertions. So, guys, this is a really good comparison. I really like this one. All right, so with that being said, let's move on to the next picture. All right, so guys, this is the money shot. Perfect photo comparison. So right here, guys, if we're gonna talk about symmetry, like we have been in the other slides, these guys both have it, and proportions too. I think this is an incredible picture because they both have the wide sweeping lats, the small waist, the big shoulders, the big calves. A perfect shearing example of symmetry. And let's talk about proportions too. They both have incredibly similar proportions. Their thighs aren't super overdeveloped. They don't have super overdeveloped, shoulders. Don Howorth was very well known for his shoulders, but you'll see in the next slides that he still had that sort of Reeves type of look where it was, the big biceps and the big triceps that still overpower the shoulders and sort of make them look smaller than they actually are. But I think this is a great photo comparison of where we compare similar, in similar insertions and genetics. But it's, again, creating this type of video was difficult because, again, we have a natural bodybuilder comparing to someone who's used, I'm pretty sure, I think Don Howorth used Dianabol or Dynabol, whatever you want to call it. I'm not really familiar with PEDs and stuff like that. But again, I think this guy comes incredibly close to looking like Steve Reeves. What could he have looked like if he didn't use any of that stuff? Incredible. All right, guys, let's move on to the next picture. Now, I was hesitant about comparing these pictures because when you use PEDs, you get that sort of, a different type of density and muscularity in your muscles. You get more striations and they're more ripped and more dense and massive. So this is a tough one to compare because look how much more dense, look how much more striations Don Howorth has. And this isn't a comparison about physique, but I'm just talking about how it was difficult to. I was hesitant about comparing these pictures, but I think this was sort of like for fun to show you from different angles of. I think they look very, very similar. But then again, Don Howorth is sort of, he was known, he's well renowned for his shoulders and how wide and round they were. So he sort of had that, he sort of coined that type of look. Don Howorth, the Duke of Delts. Whereas Steve Reeves is basically just the king of aesthetics, so there's really no comparison there. But I just wanted to showcase this, and I thought this would be a pretty fun one just to compare them to. Alright guys, we're going to move on to the last and final picture. Alright guys, I've been getting a lot of questions about personal training and all that good stuff. If you feel like you've ever hit a spot in your life where you feel very stagnant in your life and business and relationships and all that good stuff, if you ever notice it stops because you stop making fitness progress. I've noticed that when my body doesn't elevate, nothing else in my life elevates. My business, my relationships, nothing else elevates. So if you're looking to transform yourself and take your business or lifestyle or all that good stuff to the next level, it's time to take account into transforming your physique, guys. I do offer online personal training, meal plans and training plans and all that good stuff. And if you're curious to learn more about that, you can book a free consultation call with me on the phone. And you can click that link in the description. You can do exactly just that. Or if you just want to apply for my online coaching, you can do that in the type form in the description box as well. All right, so here we go. We got a comparison of Steve Reeves and Don Howorth on left and right. And I think this is another fun pose that I wanted to showcase because one thing that I don't feel is similar in this case is their upper body, because I think Don Howorth has that sort of long torso, but I think it only looks like that because he has those high lats. Now, Steve Reeves had those low lat insertions where they pretty much tie down all the way into the waist. And you could look at all bodybuilders like Arnold and Franco, and I think even Frank Zane. They all had those really long lat insertions. Whereas in this picture, it looks like Don Howorth has those high lat insertions. Something incredible about Steve Reeves is that he had very, I think, sort of particular genetics. It's insane because Steve Reeves had that chest like Vince Gironda, where it's like it has that wide sweeping outer pectoral that pretty much ties into the. I'm talking about the upper pectoral that ties into the front deltoid. It almost looks like it's like a complete line. It's almost like a complete square, and no other bodybuilder has that. Not even Arnold and Reg Park and none of that. But he also had those wide, long sweeping lats, and it's crazy because now in days you'll see one guy that has one and not has the other. He may have the Steve Reeves like chest, but he doesn't have those wide sweeping lats like him. Or they might have the reverse, where it's like, I have those long sweeping lats, but I don't have that chest like Steve Reeves. I have that chest sort of like everybody else does, like, it's sort of just round. But it's incredible because I think, Don Howorth had that sort of, square chest just like Steve Reeves. He didn't have that round chest. But some comparisons to this picture that I think are similar are basically like the arms. They both have that sort of, big biceps and big triceps that sort of overpower the shoulders and make them look a lot smaller than they actually are. And that's sort of a coined look by, all the old school bodybuilders where, guys like Arnold and Franco and Frank Zane, they all had that type of look where the biceps and triceps were a lot bigger than the shoulders that make them look smaller. And if you look at, Arnold doing a side chest, you'll see a lot of times where his biceps and triceps look incredibly massive, and his chest looks incredibly massive as well. But the only thing that looks very flat would be the shoulders, and a lot of people may argue, wow, those shoulders look like they need some work. But again, that is the coin look of the old school bodybuilders, guys. All right, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a comment below whether you think Don Howorth actually looks like the next Steve Reeves. Again, thank you so much for watching. I'm Old School Dan. I'm gone. Peace.